to The Horror with your hostess with the most, Jezebel, as always. So we are returning to talk about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Again, I just reviewed the theatrical version that so many of us had to deal with for so many years, unless if you got some bootleg copies. But we are going to be talking about the, I was going to say the legendary, but I don't even want to say legendary, but the producer's cut of Halloween 6. Now, a lot of times people are kind of like, oh, there's, with, like, different, like, cuts of movies, a lot of times, there's really not much of a difference. There's a few, like, longer scenes or extended scenes or blah, blah, blah. This is one of those rare occurrences where, or circumstances that, the producer's cut is drastic. Well, I shouldn't say drastically, but there is a lot of differences between the producer's cut and the theatrical cut. For any of you who have seen both versions, you will totally understand. I mean, it's to a point where even, like, depending on the version that you had seen after part 5, different, at one point, different storylines, different factors that went into the producer's cut, so big changes depending on what version. But let's go ahead and crack into it. Now, I've already kind of has talked about a few of the things, such as, like, the recasting of Jamie Lloyd with J.C. Brandy already in the theatrical version. So if you guys are like, oh my god, we didn't even talk about that, I have acknowledged it. I have talked about it. That is in the theatrical cut. I'm not going to go over it again, because, yeah. But anyway, so this movie, to me, is a better crappy version of Halloween 6. I much prefer Halloween 6, to be honest with you. I mean, I feel like with this one, whichever version you enjoy, I'm not even gonna, like, dispute, because it's very different between the two. But yeah, let's just kind of crack into it. So, like I said, there's many different things that are different in this. Right off the bat, most notably is that the monologue at the beginning of the movie. Now, in the theatrical version, we had Paul Rudd's character do that monologue, and I stated in that video, the theatrical version, that I kind of do have issues with that, because you have someone talking about Michael and everything, and talking about this thorn curse by someone we have yet to realize who he is, who his character is, and what his character, is to the franchise. It's they do it with a character that we didn't realize was supposed to be Tommy Doyle or anything. So it really was just kind of like right off the bat, like, what the hell? With this one, we have Dr. Loomis do the monologue, and it is not the same monologue as in the theatrical version. It was different, and I like the monologue in the producer's cut. I feel like it's much more, it talks more about Michael as, like, sort of like the myth that he is, sort of like the legend that he is, almost how some of the later Friday the 13th movies would do, opening up kind of like talking about Jason and kind of building up that, backstory and that legend of Jason. The producer's cut for this, talking about Michael, does it much more effectively, and I feel like it's appropriate that Dr. Loomis was the one who was doing the monologue. It fits much perfectly because, I mean, it's Dr. Loomis. He's been, like, tracking Michael Myers for, like, years and years at this point and everything. So, but yeah, so we have our cast of characters. Really, the only one returning to this one from, like, previous sequels is Dr. Loomis. I know, we do have the Tommy Doyle character and the Jamie Lloyd character, but both of those parts were recast and everything. And like I said, I did mention that I already talked about the replacing of Danielle Harris with J.C. Brandy, which I will not go into, but we do have Dr. Loomis back for this one. And this is a very tough one for us Halloween fans, because this would eventually be Donald Pleasance's last movie. So may he rest in peace. He is so beloved and missed among the horror community and everything. And in this one, he definitely, like, he was already like sick as a human being. The actual actor Donald Pleasance was sick, quite sick, while doing this and everything. So I give him so much respect for doing this movie, because he easily could have been like, you know what, I really don't want to do another movie. I just want to kind of live out my life and not have to work. But he was so dedicated to the character that he did this movie. So thank you, Donald Pleasance, wherever you may be, up in the heavens, with all the other horror legends. Thank you for doing this and being a trooper about it. But so for this one, instead of having him do like, a lot, like, do like the makeup and everything, for like the burns and everything, it was kind of cut down a little bit. And the reasoning being is like, he's like, oh, I had plastic surgery, so I was able to fix a lot of this up, so I respect that they kind of did that. They're kind of like, we want to make it as pleasant and as comfortable of a role as we possibly can, so thank you. So yeah, I mean, he comes back, he's retired and everything, just kind of like living his life and all this, so, but yeah. So there's little things like that have changed, like the monologue and everything. And then, so in this one too, because I know in the last video I was saying like, okay, so, Jamie had a kid, Jamie has a little baby boy. We don't, it's never explained who the dad is, like I said, I kind of assumed, like, for so many years that maybe he had like a boyfriend or something, or was trying to like shack up with someone, had a baby, that just made sense to me. No, that is not what happened. We find out who the baby's father is. We do. And it is one of those, like, what the fuck were you thinking, Danielle Farrens? Or Daniel Farrens. I'm sorry. But, like, what the fuck were you thinking? Do you guys want to know who the father is? The father, the baby's father, was Michael. Yes. Michael Myers. The uncle to the mother, Jamie Lloyd. Like, I don't even, like, what is with that? Like, who thought that was a good idea? And that is definitely a big problem, I feel like, especially for the sequel, because at one point, I believe when Paul Rudd's character, Tommy, is going over on his computer with Kara about, like, the ruins and everything, and, like, I kind of like the, like, little, like, computer ruins, Celtic stuff. And this one a little bit better, because it is slightly different. He does explain things a little bit differently in this one. But at one point, he's saying something like, oh, yeah, the druids would have to, like, this thorn thing, and the druids would pick someone from a tribe and, like, kill their entire family or whatever, and, as a sacrifice for the entire tribe, so the tribe can survive and everything, and this is why Michael's always trying to kill his family. Okay, well, if that is so, then why in the hell would you have Michael Myers essentially rape his niece to then have his child? Like, I can see if it's because, okay, Michael wanted to have, like, the kid, like, take over for him, but no, that's not even the point of it. That's not even, like, how it works. The whole thing was to kill your entire family. To, like, be the sacrifice to save to save Haddonfield. I don't know, so why then would he have raped his niece? Like, I don't get it. Like, that's one of the major flaws of this movie. That's why I call it the, like, better crappy version, because there's still so many flaws in this movie. But, like, storyline overall, in the grand scheme of things, story in this one, I will have to say, is better than the theatrical cut, because, yeah, like I called that one the theatrical version, that was a clusterfuck. It really was. I'm just saying, so... but no, things like that have been changed and everything, so, and then Laurie in this one, or Laurie, not Laurie, Jamie in this one, instead of being killed off right away by those like that cutting instrument or whatever, that 3-pronged rigid cutting thing, whatever, she is attacked by Michael, in like a barn instead, and is survives. And then is taken to the hospital and everything, and they're like, trying to like do surgery or something on her and everything, and blah blah. So she's like resting, blah blah, and all that. But then, I believe it. I'm assuming it's the Man in Black. The Man in Black comes in and shoots Jamie in the head. So Michael didn't even kill her in this version, technically. So what? What? I'm starting to rethink this now. If I really like this sequel, no, I mean, I do enjoy this one, but like I said, this movie, like either version that you watch, they both really just effed up the whole timeline and whole like backstory of Michael. So I mean, whatever. You gotta pick which one you actually like, which one you feel is the better version. But yeah, just little things like that that are just like. And then also too, we have Wynn, Dr. Wynn, visit Dr. Loomis, who that is when they actually hear Jamie on the radio because she has escaped with her baby, her and Michael's baby, their little love child. Like she escapes and she overhears this, radio broadcast and everything, calls and is like trying to just like send out like an SOS basically for Dr. Loomis. Wynn, this is a very smart move by Wynn because he comes visits Dr. Loomis after Jamie has like escaped and everything. And like, especially in this one, you kind of, I feel like you do kind of get this with the theatrical one, but I feel like it's kind of better executed in this version where Wingo sees Loomis to tell him like, oh, I'm retiring. That's his little like ploy and everything. I'm retiring, and like, I think you should come back. I really want you to like replace me and blah, blah, blah. And it's a kind of smart move because, you do then realize like at the end of this one, like, oh, he purposely went to go see Dr. Loomis because he knew that, Jamie would have like tried to get in touch with him, or he would have gotten word about Jamie escaping, or something might have happened where he could have gotten to Jamie if he had realized, like, oh, she's still alive, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't killed in the blast, 6 years earlier or whatever. So, I mean, it's that scene makes more sense, and the phone call to the radio makes more sense in this version, in the producer's cut. So yeah, and that's another thing too, as I'm thinking about it, in the producer's cut, they do show pretty much like what happened, after like, we see the end of part 5, like we see, obviously part 5 ends with like, the, Man in Black showing up, shooting up the police station and blowing up the, cell to have Michael escape. Well then like afterwards, we see that Jamie goes out, is kind of sees like, okay, like a truck and stuff, and then she's pretty much kidnapped. So that is how she is basically wrangled up into doing this, being part of this whole like Myers cult thing. Maybe a slight, I don't want to say nod, but like kind of undertones of human trafficking. Way to go to Halloween for kind of addressing issues like that. I know it's a minor thing that happens in the movie, but hello, human trafficking is human trafficking. I'm just saying, basically they do human trafficking when you think about it. They kidnapped Jamie in 89, and then Michael, like I said earlier, basically rapes his niece to have a little love baby. I mean, what, is she like his little like sex slave? Like, that's disgusting. That is not Michael Myers. Freddy Krueger maybe, but whatever, that's disgusting. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, sorry. So, but yeah, it's things like that in this version, in this cut, that explains more about like the franchise and everything. In this, I know like the producer's cut is definitely much more closer. Like, it's not exactly what Daniel Farrance had written, but it's closer to what he wrote and kind of his vision and everything. But like I said in my previous video, it's like this is the first time that a major studio was part of a Halloween franchise. So of course, you know, line has a movie line has access to this franchise now, and they don't really know what they're talking about because they weren't involved in the previous movie, so that now all they care about is from this point on. So it really kind of messed everything up, going down the line for the rest of the sequels. But yeah. And this one too, I know I didn't mention the score for the director's cut, but like the director's cut, or the theatrical cut, I should say, like that score just so bad. It almost sounded like it was trying to be sort of like an early to mid 90s, like, I don't want to say like hard rock, but just like that like rock to it and everything. The producer's cut is much more close to previous installments and everything. So I definitely do give it credit for the score. I like the score more in this one and everything. So, but yeah. And also too, this one, like when Loomis shows up to the Strode house, which I already kind of talked about how the Strodes wound up in the Myers house in the theatrical version. So go check out that video. I'm not talking about it again. They do it a little bit better because, especially with like, Jamie still being alive and everything at this point, with Tommy Doyle running into Loomis at the hospital with the baby and everything, the conversation, because I think they kind of said this in the theatrical cut. Sorry, because I kind of watched these like back to back the other day, so I'm trying not to like get everything crossed and everything, but I feel like it just made more sense because, he does, Tommy does say like, oh, there are people, relatives of Jamie and Laurie that live in the old Myers house, blah, blah, blah. So it makes more sense when he shows up actually at the newly christened Strode Meyer house, and kind of like breaks in, so to speak, and tells the wife, like, hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. It makes more sense, and I think they actually added a few extra lines or something, but between those two scenes, it made more sense and everything, and it wasn't as, like, the fuck? Like, Loomis is just randomly showing up, just knowing where these people live and who these people are, blah, 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 like, things like that. But yeah, and then also, too, the Lincoln calf or something, or God, I forget her name. There's too many damn characters in this movie in both versions. Like the lady who's kind of like the head of the house that Tommy lives in. She kind of like, she's part of the cult, obviously. Like, a lot of these people are part of the cult. That is an aspect about this movie that I kind of do give credit for, because you do have part of the town that's like, oh my god, it's Halloween and blah blah blah, like, who cares? And then this other part of the town that no one really knows about. It's almost like a cult. Well, it is a cult, but like, no one really knows about it unless if like you're in the crowd or anything. That are really trying to like control this entity and everything and kind of let him out whenever and all this. So I think that's a cool aspect that maybe they should have done more with, if done correctly. But with this group that was working on this movie and with Miramax, I'm almost glad we didn't, because once again, this is such a clusterfuck of a movie, and with the timeline and everything. But whatever. But yeah, she's part of the like cult and everything, and she talks about, like, oh, little Michael Myers, I remember him. He heard voices and blah blah blah. So of course, Kira's son Danny, we see throughout this one, unlike the theatrical cut, that he also hears voices and everything. So then you're kind of like, oh, he must, maybe he's the next one, which, I mean, would make sense because his family is in the old Myers house. But it's like, at the end of the day, once again, the Strodes and the Myers really aren't related in any way. The only connection that they really actually had was Laurie Strode from like 17 years before. And I mean, I think even like Jamie's character in this one, it definitely seemed like she had no like connection to this family or anything. So yeah, I don't even know. Like I could have seen if like they would have had like Ellie Cornell's character come back, but obviously her character already died. So it's like there's really no connection between the Strodes now and the Myers. So why would this little kid be the one hearing voices? I don't know, other than he's in the house. Whatever. And then okay, so and then also to the ending, the infamous ending that is actually so much different from the theatrical cut. So I already talked about the theatrical cut ending. So if you want to know about that, go check out the video. This one, the producer's cut. I almost said produce. Whatever. So this one I feel like has a better ending. Maybe not the best ending, but I definitely liked it. Definitely was trying to set it up for another sequel and everything. So we towards the end we see they take the baby and everything. They kidnap Kira, who we see like I feel like in the theatrical version they just kind of like it made it seem like oh they took her and kidnapped her, but they're not gonna really do anything. In this one they were trying to kind of like almost set Danny up as like the next Michael essentially, because you know we see her all like made up with like the flowers around her hair, the white gown and everything. Probably assuming that Michael made rape her or something trying to have a kid, because it would be kind of weird and sick and twisted to have a little kid do that. But to, you know, then have like someone else sort of bring on or like have the new curse and everything. But of course they can like break it up and like shit ensues and everything. And then also too, it's like Tommy has these like little like stones, like Irish stones or something, that when they're laid out, is supposed to like basically render Michael defenseless. So this one comes into play for this ending, and it makes a little more sense because it's like, okay, this is how they were able to control him, and like, you know, he's around these stones, and obviously he just can't do anything. He's powerless. So that's how they were kind of able to contain him. So they're trying to like, Tommy and Loomis are trying to like, you know, get him to like stop and everything, and like try and figure stuff out and kill and like get like the cult and everything. But doesn't really quite work that way, because they end up kind of like losing Michael, and then or they have to like go and like run off, do something or whatever, and when they come back they see Michael, who they think is Michael, on the floor. They take off the mask. It's Win. He's been kind of like knocked out. He's like, what? Where is he? Where is he? Like, he's wearing like the mask, the overalls and everything. And then, you know, they're like, well, where is he? Like, and Win is like, oh, well, this is it. This is finally it. I'm over him. Like, I'm ridding myself of him. He's your responsibility now. So that's when Loomis looks at his wrist, and in like the little thorn symbol appears on his wrist to indicate that he is now the chosen one to watch over Michael. And then, you know, we hear him scream, and then it closes in on someone dressed in the Man in Black's clothes. So you obviously know, with Win being the Man in Black, he is now in the Michael stuff. Michael now is wearing the Man in Black stuff to make a nice, easy getaway. So I don't know, maybe even Michael was like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. Deuces, you know? Rightfully so, Michael. Trying to start a new life, but shit just ensued. He needed to get ready to go to California to get Laurie. I'm just saying. So, but no, I mean, it's a better ending and everything. It's like I said, it's not like the greatest installment. Either version, I've said a couple of times in both videos, they're both really kind of just so problematic. And just like, it's really not the greatest installment at all. But for what it is, not a bad movie. I definitely prefer the producer's cut over the theatrical cut. That's just me. But let me know, you guys, what you think. What do you think of the producer's cut compared to the theatrical cut? Which version do you prefer? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Till next time, you guys, as always, stay creepy, classy, and a little bit sassy.